Now that WWDC 25 is behind us, it's time to look forward to Apple's next major product announcement, the iPhone 17. On today's show, we're going over the latest rumors. There have been plenty of them, so stick around and find out more. Welcome to the Macro Podcast. I'm Roman Loyal, here with Jason Cross.
Good morning.
And Michael Simon.
Hello, sir.
According to the traffic on our website, you folks just can't get enough iPhone 17 news. So now that we've covered the WWDC announcements, and be sure to check out, last week's show in case you missed what happened there. We're going to give you all what you want on today's show, the latest on the iPhone 17, which doesn't actually come out till September. But the rumors and reports keep coming out.
So what you're saying, Roman, is that people like to read iPhone rumors? I had no idea.
People like to read iPhone rumors. Yeah, we have no. In case you didn't know, people like to read iPhone rumors. Yeah.
Rumors about the most popular technology product in the world? You don't say.
Sure. Yeah. Speaking of those rumors, we do have a roundup article in case you want to catch up on all the rumors at macworld.com. You'll find a link in the show notes. I want to start with a report that happened at the beginning of this month. There was a supposed video. There was a video of the supposed iPhone 17 Pro Max by a leaker named Beijing Bu. Not sure if I got the name pronounced correctly, but anyways, it's the most provocative report we've seen so far of the phone. I mean, how much credence should we give to that video?
I think quite a bit. It's not a phone. It's not like someone got the iPhone and showed it to us, but it's one of those dummy models that circulate. My guess is it's nearly identical to what the phone is going to look like. I mean, be it a different color, it will work. But as far as the thickness, the design, the camera placement, all that stuff, I think based on what we've seen in the previous years, those types of leaks, it'll be pretty spot on.
Yeah, these dummy models tend to be made ahead of time based on some CAD filings and stuff that let accessory manufacturers like people who make cases and stuff start building their products and testing them against this dummy before the actual product comes out, so they can make sure that the cutouts are in the right place and stuff like that.
Apple doesn't supply this stuff, but they get out there and they're, almost certainly genuine. I don't know if people sell them or leak them or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But these CAD diagrams, they get out, and by the time they get out, Apple has to be, well along the production phase of things. So they're real.
Oh yeah. Apple has test devices for months now already, and will start scaled production at scale a couple of months, 6 weeks, 2 months or so before release, because they've got to manufacture several million of them for launch day and get them already shipped and spread out around the world, ready to go on sale, ready to be in stores. So that's a big undertaking. It takes some time. I'm not sure. I have heard in the past, and I don't know how true this is, that Apple does literally work together with certain case manufacturers, your big brand name cases, your Mofis and stuff like that of the world, that will supply them with a CAD of the external of the thing, so they're going to know how the thickness down to the fraction of a millimeter, where the cutouts need to be for buttons and camera and stuff like that. It doesn't tell you anything about what the function of the buttons are, how they work, or clearly nothing about the internals of the phone, anything like that. But cases need to be built pretty precisely to fit right. So they've got to get this stuff out there. And that's what this stuff is based on. And this was a 17 Pro Max, right? For this video. Yeah. The thing that struck me about it was, we've seen in previous past sort of leaked diagrams and these other dummy models and stuff, the wide camera bar. The cameras are arranged the same way, but they're in a wide bar. We've seen that. What was new about this to me is that it's fat.
Yeah, it was
thick. It's thicker than the current Pro Max.
Yeah,
which could say something about the camera. Like they
Yeah.
need more depth for a different focal length. But it could just be like we're putting in a beefier cooling solution and a bigger battery. And I like those things.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful
And
about
also,
that.
so in previous years, Apple tried to make the iPhone as thin as possible, sometimes compromising on battery, at least capacity. And I think the existence of the 17 Air is
Yes.
allowing them to kind of say, you know what, we'll make the iPhone 17 Pro as thick as it needs to be to put the parts that we want in there. And let the 17 Air look even thinner by comparison. So if the iPhone 17 Pro is a
That's
little
true.
bit thicker than the 16 Pro, it makes the 17 Air seem that much,
Yeah, what we're calling the 17 Air, we don't know what Apple's going to call it, but
Right.
but that makes sense to all of us. Those
Yeah.
sort of little dummy models have leaked out too, it's a really skinny phone and has one camera, and we're all very nervous about what that means for battery life. It is a little disturbing that you don't just kind of get to choose between thin and thick, though. Like if you choose thin, you get one camera. Who knows what other features might have to be compromised in that thin one? It's not just like, well, it's super skinny and you get less battery because hey, it's obviously less room. It's like if you want all the good cameras, you have to choose the fat one.
Right.
So
Samsung
we'll
just
see.
Samsung just came out with their own version of this, thin model.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the S25 Edge, and it looks to have similar trade-offs as the iPhone 17 Air will. The battery life is significantly less. It has a 3900 milliamp hour battery, which is, for an Android phone, small. That would be big for an iPhone. But it's but people are saying, listen, if this is what you want, if you value thinness, if you value kind of sveltness and uniqueness, then this is the phone that you're going to want. The 17 Air is one of those things I think you're going to need to see and hold in person to make sure that you want it, because the images that we've seen, it's very skinny and then kind of fat at the top where the camera juts out, and it's this big thing. So I think you're going to need to like really get your hands on it and hold it and see it and feel it. But it's going to be a polarizing phone. The video that we were just talking about, like pro users have been saying for years, I don't care how thin my damn phone is, just give me what I want. Battery life, give me it all. And maybe this is the 17 Air is allowing Apple to finally do that at the high end.
Yeah, we should run down what the lineup is expected to be. I guess there's will be the iPhone 17, which is very much like the current iPhone 16. I think they're edging all of the screens just a tiniest bit bigger on the lineup this year. That's what it seems to be like. I know, another fraction of an inch.
Like millimeters, yeah.
Yeah. So, but think of the iPhone 16, except it's got the camera bar is wide, but same layout. Then you've got the iPhone 17. I mean, the iPhone 16 Plus is going away. The Plus model is going away. That's going to be replaced by the Air, which is bigger, taller, but not as tall as the Pro Max or anything, and super, super skinny. And then you're going to have the two Pro models, the smaller Pro and the bigger Pro Max. And we don't know if the smaller Pro is also going to be thick like the Pro Max is, or if that's just a Pro Max thing. All of the phones are expected to get, obviously, a new processor. There has been some disagreement about whether this processor will have 12 gigs of RAM or if some models will have 8. The regular models will have 8 and the Pros will have 12. The rumors disagree. But definitely, they all say the Pros are going to have 12 because bigger AI models and stuff. And then expect better CPU performance and better AI performance and better GPU performance and stuff on these things.
Yeah, there's some talk that the lower models won't get the, what do we have, the A19? The A19 processor, like they'll still have the A18. Like Apple did that a couple of years ago. It's still a great chip. Like it's not like you're getting, you're sacrificing too much there.
Right. They might do the naming the way they did it this year, where they have like the regular and the Pro.
Yeah,
the A19 and A19 Pro, right? So expect there to be a division in the chips in that sort of way, whether that's an extra GPU core or extra RAM or whatever it is. They're all supposed to get an upgraded front-facing camera.
Mm-hmm.
That's finally getting upgraded from 12 to 24 megapixels. Don't know what other improvements there are. And then the rear cameras are all the standard models, the standard 17, the 17 Air and stuff. It's going to have a wide camera that's very much like this year's wide cameras, the 48 megapixel with the crop zoom and stuff like that. Pro model is supposed to get all 48 megapixel cameras. It's the latest rumor. So the telephoto and the wide angle will all be 48 megapixels as well. So kind of a big upgrade there in a way. And then we'll see about other features. We've been looking for, well, will any of these have like a super zoom kind of function more than the 5X that we have now, plus digital zoom or anything like that? Quite possibly, with the telephoto being 5 and then you crop zoom double that, that's 10 at optical zoom. You know, that's pretty great. That's something. It's more than what they have now.
Going back to this iPhone 17 Pro Max video, I'm sorry, but if that's the camera bar on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, I think it looks ugly. It looks tacked on to me. It doesn't look like it's part of the phone.
This is another thing that happens with dummy models. Like, it doesn't get Apple's polish, so to speak. So it always looks like these types of things always look weird. I remember the original when they first got the square one. Everyone was like, that is like the worst thing I've ever seen. And then we saw it in real life, and it's like, okay, it's not so bad. There's transparency. It's curved at the edges. Like, it will look better than that, but it is different. It's a definite different look for the iPhone. I mean, we've had that square camera for 6 years, 7 years. I mean, it's been a long time. So it's going to take some getting used to. I think it's going to look a lot nicer than it does in images and in that video. So Roman, you don't have to worry. I don't think too much.
Well, I hope it's just, I understand it's a mock-up and, it's kind of pieced together, so to speak, so they can make accessories for it, and it's not final product. I hope it's not final product because,
here's a question. Ultimately, who cares? Like, you don't look at the back of your phone.
To me,
all I care about is the screen.
I'm going to put the face on it anyways. So.
There's that. There's that too. Yeah.
To me, there's a very practical benefit, which is that the current camera module lopsides the back of the phone. So when you put it down on a desk, it wobbles. And just having something stretch across means it's not going to wobble. That also has a big impact on wireless charging wireless charging stands and stuff. Like right now, like sometimes you can not be making a good connection. You don't really realize it. And this will make it just very obvious. Like you're either on it or you're not. It's flat across the whole width of the phone. So I think it's ultimately a better way to go. But we'll have to see it in person and see what it looks like.
The wobble on a table is just the worst. And it's still going to wobble like a little bit because the cameras will be a little out, but not nearly as much. And it'll be much easier to use because it'll be flat.
I think with a case, it probably won't wobble at all because the rim around that will just be all the way across too. So
so
we'll see.
I mean, I'm all for a camera bar. Just I hope they just execute it a lot better than what was shown in that video. Because like the bar clashes to me. It clashes with the rest of the phone. It looks tacked on.
Things like the materials and stuff are the things that you're going to see change much. The shades of color, whether it's frosted glass or more clear, and all those kinds of things are the things that these dummy models don't get as right. What they do get right is the geometry, right? The literal shape of the thing. So
well, there's one rumored feature that I'm not going to complain about. It's the possibility that it will support 50-watt charging. This is the latest rumor that came out from 91 Mobiles, I believe is the name of this. Is it Mobiles or is it Mobile?
Yeah, 91 Mobiles. Yep, that's right.
Okay.
I mean, it could be Mobiles, I guess. I don't know.
I've
been calling it Mobiles ever since I've been reading it. Yeah, that would be. Yeah. So that's a Jason will have more advanced stuff on this, but that's a Qi 2 setting. So that's based on MagSafe. Apple joined the board and they shared the technology and they made Qi 2 magnetic. So it's basically MagSafe for everything else, all the phones. And that standard now goes up to 50 watts. Now, what leaked was a MagSafe charger that looked like it had some writing on it that said the specifications that would support 50-watt charging. We don't know for sure. But Hopefully, because that would be pretty awesome. MagSafe charging is really nice, and most people's preferred way, I would assume, but it's pretty limited compared to plugging it in. Certainly, this would really kind of take all of that off and make it just as good as plugging it into
I think
a
the
USB
current
cable.
limit's 25 for with MagSafe, and that's the Qi 2 limit, and the Qi 2.2 or whatever update to the spec just basically gives you more power, and we'll see if Apple supports that and supports it on all the phones is the other thing. That might just be a pro thing. It's going to mean buy new MagSafe chargers though. And you're going to have to plug it into a bigger power adapter. So there's that, So.
Yeah, the leak was of a charging puck so the old one's going to support 25 watt. The one before that supports 15. So yeah, you're going to have, we're supposed to be getting rid of e-waste with all this stuff, but we're always going to buy new stuff. Yeah.
Now, of course, your old ones will work at a lower speed.
They'll work.
That's the thing, but but yeah, 50 watts is, and you probably don't even get 50 watts throughout the entire charge curve or whatever, but that's not the point. The point is when your phone's almost dead. Right now, you plug in that USB, you can get back up to half or something like that very quickly, and you can't with wireless, and this would potentially make that possible. That's pretty good.
Right. Yep.
So Bluetooth 6.1 recently came out. Do you think is Bluetooth 6.1 going to be on these iPhone 17s? What do you guys think? We haven't heard any reports on whether it has or not, but it seems like the timing's right.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's not that Apple does anything kind of right now with what's new in the Bluetooth 6 spec, right? It's not, they're not doing anything with it. So it might be on the spec list, but it's not like it's going to operate differently in any way.
Yeah, has it changed from 4 to 5? Does it do things that
oh yeah,
so Bluetooth 4 phones versus Bluetooth 5? What's the what changes?
5 is when they added all these advancements to Bluetooth low energy and stuff like that. So there's a lot of kind of under the hood stuff and things that happen with that. The main thing was sort of Bluetooth 6 that would make it useful. There's a few things, but the main thing is that it can do the same sort of positional sounding kind of things that ultra wideband does. Just to locate your stuff more precisely.
That's kind of tag and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can already kind of do that in the sense that it's nearby, it's within my Bluetooth range, but this will let you do the more precise positioning within a few inches that you do with ultra wideband. It's possible that Apple adds that. They put ultra wideband in their phones, so all the existing AirTags, that's how they do what they do. They have Bluetooth, but not Bluetooth 6. So, and then ultra wideband for the precise stuff. So, yeah, if they do anything with this, that's more like software updates down the road. It's probably going to have Wi-Fi 7 as well. I don't think these phones are expected to have Apple's homegrown Bluetooth and Wi-Fi chip, though, right? I think those first products that are going to have that are supposed to be like the next Apple TV and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's unclear as far as what Apple's working on. So they introduced their M1 modem that does 5G.
C1.
First C1. That's why I stumbled, because I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Yeah. The C1 modem with the iPhone 16e. That's not supposed to come to the iPhone 17 yet either. That's a next year thing. And along with that, they're working on a Bluetooth Wi-Fi chip that's gonna it would eventually all be together in one thing once they get all the pieces correct and the way up to speed. It's crazy to say, but you can do that with the 16e because people aren't going to be as discriminate about their Wi-Fi chips, but they will be with the iPhone 17 Pro. So it's probably going to still be Qualcomm and Broadcom parts in that phone. We're not going to know.
Yeah, and plus the wireless testing and stuff like that for these things start a long time ago.
Right.
Before they had all these things done. So the Bluetooth Wi-Fi chip, we're not expected to see that until maybe the next Apple TV and maybe the 17e next spring. And then next fall's iPhones, the 18 line in the fall of 2026, that's when we're supposed to start to see in some of these models their Bluetooth Wi-Fi chip, a C2 modem, and so on.
Yeah, and that's also when that'll be for another show, maybe next week, I don't know, a couple weeks. But that's when we're supposed to get the folding phone and this new model that has curved glass because of iOS 26 and the liquid glass, and then glasses. Like there's a bunch of stuff that's coming.
It's always next year.
It's always next year, but those
last
chips
year
that
was
Jason
this
was
year,
talking
and
about,
then
all those wireless chips, like they're important to those products. The efficiency, the heat dissipation, all that stuff. So yeah, as Jason says, like who knows? It's always a year or two away. But this time it feels like it's actually a year or two away. I don't know.
We always say that too?
We always say that. But I don't know. It seems different. It seems closer. We'll see. I don't know if we're gonna have a folding phone next year. We'll see.
There's a lot of things to work out on the folding phone.
Yeah,
but in terms of just this year, in terms of phones being different, I mean, man, the iPhone has not changed in a substantial fashion. I was like, oh, look, we added the camera button, and you can't even see it because it's flush with the body stuff. Changing the switch to the action button. They all just look like iPhones. Going to the bar, making the thinner model. These are the first sort of substantial changes to the iPhone in how many years? In years.
Since the 12, basically. Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. And there was a time when every year would be drastically different, like the 3 to the 4.
Yeah, every other. That was they were on an every other year cadence. There would be like, this is the big change, and then the next year was they refined it a little, and then a big change, and then they refined it. And it has not been that way.
No, they've been very, and now they're saying that this year is a big-ish change, and then next year is like a bigger change, and the year after is like a huge change. So we'll see. We'll see if Apple sticks with all of that, all the rumors. Like, I think these products are in development. There is a folding phone. There is some kind of a curved glass phone. Like, there's probably a portless phone. Like, all those things are being developed. It's just a matter of when Apple releases them. And if people are still buying 40 million iPhones a quarter, like there's no reason to rush that stuff.
Earlier we talked about the iPhone 17 Air, whatever that product is, and the concerns about battery life. There was a report that Apple is going to revive the smart battery case to kind of act as a solution to extend that phone's battery.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Like, it seems pointless. I wrote that when I wrote the article up. Like, if you're going to have a super thin phone, and then you're going to sell an accessory that makes it thick again, like, it just seems silly.
The idea that they'll make a MagSafe battery that you slap on and it attaches with MagSafe, and then you just pop it off when you don't want it, but but maybe shaped so that it's easier to hold and use your phone while you've got this MagSafe battery slapped on there. Like, that makes sense to me. But the idea of like a case with a big battery hump on it that you slap on your super thin phone and make it thick again, it's just what a terrible idea.
Like, if anybody remembers the smart battery case from, I don't know, 3 years ago, it was ugly. Like, it was like a camel hump on the back of your phone. Like, it worked nicely. It kept your phone charged for like 2.5 days, but it was ugly. Like, you didn't want that. So if you're buying a 17 Air, you obviously prioritize thinness and design. And, I can't imagine anybody would say, well, I'm going to buy this phone and put this case on it rather than just buying the Pro Max or whatever. The case is like $200. The phone's going to be like at that. Like,
that's true.
The prices line up. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, we'll see what they do about that. But I think the people who are going to buy the iPhone 17 Air, and I might be one of them, I don't know. Like, they're okay with a little less battery life for getting a phone that's, really nice and light and thin to hold. We'll see.
Yeah. Along those lines, one of the things that we expected to hear about at WWDC and didn't was, and this was well rumored even by reliable sources, was an AI powered sort of battery optimization feature that for iPhone that would turn it on and it would use AI and all the data that Apple has collected over years and years of all their battery stuff to kind of give you more battery life by reducing the processor usage of certain background tasks and stuff like that you don't need right now, right? And that never happened. And it's very possible that is a feature, but they're waiting for the announcement of the iPhone 17 Air to talk about and promote that, because that's how they're going to give you more battery life back. And hopefully it's not just, it would make no sense for that to be only a feature of the 17 Air. Like it should be just a iOS feature.
Mm-hmm.
But they would talk about it during announcing that and make it sound like it's a 17 Air feature or something like that. And then they would talk about battery life when using that feature in terms of like, and comparing it to old phones, and to make the comparison not look bad. Make it look like you're getting, I don't really lose any battery life because of this new feature.
Yeah, I could see it being a feature that's on the iPhone 17 Air first, and then comes to everyone else at like 26.2 or whatever, like something like that, just to, give it a little bit of exclusivity. We did get, Jason, you're testing the iOS 26 beta. There's like a couple new charging things in there that they didn't talk about, but not the main rumored one.
Yeah,
Do I have
it's
that right?
just it's the when you
There's
plug in the charge. I don't know what
adaptive charging or there's like adaptive something. Hold on.
I honestly don't remember. I do know that I haven't looked that closely at the battery thing. I know that when you plug in to charge, it will on your lock screen, where it normally shows the date above your time, it will flash that to your percent charged and how much time is left. And then it goes back to the date. And one of the complaints I have about the beta, it's Dev Beta 1, is that happens too quickly. Like, and it's gone. It needs to come back. It needs to go back and forth between them or
I didn't
something.
realize it disappeared. Okay.
It disappears and goes back to the date. Or in my experience, what I've seen, your mileage may vary. It's Dev Beta 1, but it happens pretty quickly. Yeah.
I'm trying to find it. I think there's some kind of adaptive charging feature or something.
There's the things I have seen, the same, just with a slightly different interface because of the liquid glass stuff, the same options that we have today, which is you can set the charge limit in 5% increments between 80 and 100. If you're set to 80, you can turn on optimized battery charging, which, charges to the amount you need at the time you need.
I'm thinking of adaptive low power mode, not charging. My mistake.
Okay. So
what it does is it uses like AI, machine learning in your phone, and it adjusts before it hits that 20% or whatever. Like it does that throughout, which could be similar to what that.
In the battery settings under power mode, you've got two toggles. You've got low power mode, which is what you're doing. Then we have something that says adaptive power. The description on the screen is when your battery usage is higher than usual, iPhone can make small performance adjustments to extend your battery life, including slightly lowering the display brightness or allowing some activities to take a little longer. Okay. Low power mode may turn on at 20%, which is already sort of the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's the AI battery thing that they were talking about. Doesn't quite sound like it, but it also sort of does sound like it. It sounds to me like that's the first step. And the next step is, we're going to use AI to make it so you don't even notice. Like, because
that's exactly
it only does these.
That's what I was thinking.
It only does these things when you don't notice, when you wouldn't notice anyway. Right?
Yeah, I can see Apple totally selling that during the keynote and saying that, like on heavy days it'll lower this and shut down. You won't even notice, and you'll get an extra hour out of your battery or whatever. Yeah, totally. Roman, you're muted.
I sneezed, so I muted myself.
I know. I was coughing and tried to mute myself.
So there was a previous report that the iPhone 17 Pro would get a new anti-reflective and anti-scratch screen, but apparently that's not going to happen. So I guess we're sticking with the ceramic shield that we've always gotten so far.
That's a shame, because the new anti-glare coatings that exist, they're on a couple of TVs. And like one, is it just the new Samsung phones, the S26s or whatever?
S25,
yeah, they are incredible. The degree to which they cut down glare while still allowing the display not to have that kind of foggy look to them. The display looks really, really clear. All their blacks are still really black, and it just absolutely demolishes glare. And it's really great in bright light and stuff like that. So it's a shame if we don't get that on these, at least the Pro models or something. It's kind of a shame because it's really a super cool coating.
Yeah, I wrote about that last year when the S25 came out, or maybe it might only be on the Ultra. I don't remember, but it's awesome. Like the images in direct sunlight, like it's amazing how it's kind of like the nano texture glass that Apple offers for a premium, but it's very similar to that as far as there's no glare. Like if you put there was images of them side by side with like a regular S24, and it's remarkable.
Yeah, I think it's even better. I think the nano texture glass
maybe so
kind of has that slightly foggy, like less contrasty look to it. And this has that perfectly clear look to it,
For sure. It does.
So
He's right.
Really cool.
Jason's right. The nano glass kind of dulls the screen a little bit, for lack of a better word. And you don't really see any of that. And it even looks like it would be glossy, but it's not. Like they're really nice.
Yeah, you can look at, there's some cool videos out from CES earlier this year demonstrating the effect on the TVs that have it. There's a couple of TVs that have it as well. And you'll just look at it and go like, wow, that's amazing. So yeah, it'd be a shame that we don't get that on our $1,000 iPhones, but hopefully those reports are wrong, and we will. The other display thing that it might be like half true is that some were saying all the iPhones will get ProMotion displays this year. There'll be 100, the regular 17 and the 17 Air will have 120 hertz ProMotion displays. A later report came out and said they are going to be 120 hertz, but they're not going to be a variable refresh rate. They're going to probably swap between 60 and 120, but maybe even 30, 60, 120. But they don't have the right screen technology to do that dynamic adaptive display rate from 1 hertz to 120 like the current ProMotion stuff does. So still, it's nice that they're finally getting $800 phones to have 120 hertz displays when you've had it on $500 Android phones for how many years. So let's finally getting there.
And I assume that would bring. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I assume that would bring always on display to the lower to the lower phones as well.
I don't know.
I want that more than ProMotion, to be honest. I bought a 16 Plus and downgraded from the 15 Pro Max just to see. And quite frankly, I miss it occasionally, the ProMotion, but I always miss always on display. Always. That's the one feature that I really think that all the phones need, more so than even the better camera. I don't even miss the zoom. I just miss that's the one feature above all that I miss.
It has been rumored to be coming because of the same LPTO technology that makes it possible. Makes 120 hertz possible, but also if it doesn't have adaptive refresh rate, it doesn't go all the way down to 1 hertz. But it's in always on display mode. But then, did they used to do that when they first introduced always on display?
It didn't go down to 1. I think it went down to 10.
Yeah. So I don't know. That one's. I feel iffy about that one. I really think it needs to get there, and that's to me more important than going up to 120 is the always on display
for sure.
Yeah, I'm with Mike on that. I have a 16 Plus, didn't get a Pro this year, and yeah, that always on display because I get up so often during the night and I want to check what time it is.
Where's my phone?
Right. Now I got to reach over and tap it. Yeah.
So I just looked it up. The original was it was a refresh from 10 hertz to 120 hertz. Okay. I could see if it's not dynamic in the iPhone 17 non-pros, I can see Apple doing like 10, 60, 120.
Yeah,
or something like that.
And 10 just only
for always on display.
Always on display, like not just when you have a static screen doing other stuff.
Yeah, so I think that would be a nice trade-off. I think people would be totally fine with that. Yeah, and it still keeps the Pro models, gives them that little bit of a differentiation. But the 1 hertz is sweet. If you've never used it, like when you're in a dark room and you go all the way down, it's nice.
Oh, the one nit thing, yeah.
Oh, I'm talking about one nit. That's right.
Yeah, brightness. Yeah,
I'm
that's cool
confusing
too.
things.
The one hertz thing just helps save battery, but yeah, the fact that it can get super dim is you really appreciate it in a very dark room.
And do we expect these phones to get more RAM because of Apple Intelligence? Or
At least the Pro models.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some disagreement about whether or not the non-Pro models, the 17 and 17 Air, will have 8 or 12. Some rumors say 12, some say 8. And then that's going to be one of those things we'll find out when we find it. And Apple doesn't advertise it.
Yeah, right.
So we'll find out when we find out.
So, right.
Yeah, or just the code. Yeah, when they plug them into...
Android phones have had 12 gigs for a while.
Mm-hmm.
The iPhones are, the system is different, the chip's different. Like I don't know if we would even notice the difference between 8 gig and 12 gig. I mean, I don't know if I've noticed the difference between 4 gigs and 8 gigs, other than that it can run Apple Intelligence. And
yeah,
there wasn't a ton announced at there's not a ton coming in iOS 26 that needs 12 gigs of RAM, but it's, more about future-proofing iOS 27, 28, when all these large language models come and the Siri chatbot and all that other stuff. Like you're going to need it eventually. So we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be beneficial for some high-end games, and it'll be beneficial when as the years roll on and they start rolling out newer features that require more RAM and stuff like that. That would be the main reason. But for sure, the pros are supposed to, they say.
Yeah. As it stands, they all have 8, and that's the first time that's been like that for a while, where the pros and the regulars are the same. So I think the rumors of the pros getting 12 and the standards sticking to 8 probably makes sense. 8 is still plenty for a phone right now. Like, that's more than enough. I mean,
well, the reason
they were using them at max up until 8 months ago.
The reason would be is if they're looking at, all the work they're doing in Apple Intelligence, all the work they're doing with the future version of Siri with its new large language model stuff, and they're saying like, we're really going to need that extra RAM for like a bigger model, and that would be the reason to really push it up to 12 on the non-Pro models.
The one main question to me is, how much are these phones going to cost? Because it sounds like these phones could end up being more expensive on just on a device level, if that makes sense. But then we also have these tariffs that we don't quite know what to think about yet.
I don't know we still don't really know the extent of tariffs. So
yeah, there's an exception. The exception's got a time limit. The time limit, is going to be up before these things launch.
A couple weeks ago, there was only tariffs on iPhones for like a couple hours.
Right.
So,
and the tariffs are all over the place. They're 100%. You have an exception and it's 10%, and then you have the exceptions ending, and then if you start building the factory, then we're going to give you a different deal. Like, it's by September. Who could tell?
No, yeah.
So,
and I don't think Apple is going to change anything based on these fluctuations. Like they're going to wait until
for these things.
Right.
Yeah, for these products, they can't possibly. It couldn't happen that fast if they wanted to. What we expect to see, though, is that if the tariffs are fairly low, Apple can eat that, just make less money. If they're high enough, they're going to have to pass on that cost. And because we're talking about billions of dollars lost revenue. So other than that, I don't think these are necessarily going to be more expensive. I think that's sort of $799, $899, for the regulars, and then $1,000 and $1,100 or whatever they are for the pros.
Yeah, so it's $1,199 for the Pro Max right now. I can't imagine that gets much higher. The question I have is the iPhone 16 Plus right now starts at $899. Does the Air, which is, engineering and whatever else they put into it to get it so thin, to get it different, does that get bumped to like $999 or something like that? Or does it stay at that $899? But there was initial reports that the Air would be more than the Pro. Like it would be like a $1,399 phone, which seemed outrageous. It was, because now all those rumors have kind of changed. But if it slides into that middle spot, is it more? And the other question I have is the existence of the 16E now. What does that do to the rest of the lineup? Because presumably there'll be a 17E at some point. Is that
next spring? Yeah,
so the price cuts and all, I'm curious to see how Apple handles all that. But I wouldn't be surprised if the 17 Air starts at $999. The 17 Pro starts at $1099. The 17 Pro Max starts at $1199. That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't be surprised by that either. My guess, though, is that we're going to see the same sort of starting prices that we see today for all of these, for each model, absent the question mark around tariffs and how much Apple needs to pass that on.
Well, I'll just toss in that I think prices are going to go up for no other reason than you guys have said that you think they're pretty much going to stay level.
Well, I think the Pro. So I think the 16.
Yeah. I just feel like everything's going up, so it just seems like, the iPhone's going to go up too. And I have no logic behind it other than it just feels like everything's more expensive nowadays. So
the 17 Pro, I think, will jump from 128 gigs to 256. I'm just going to double check, and go up by $100 to $1099. And I think the Air will have 128 gigs and start at $999. And I think they're going to keep the regular model at $799. I also think that gives them a little insulation for any tariffs that could hit them in the next 12 months because it increases the price of phones without really increasing them. It's one of those things like, we're making it higher, but we're giving you a little bit more.
Right.
It doesn't cost them $100 to go up 120 gigs of storage, so they're still making a higher margin.
Yeah, it's already what you pay. Like
phone.
It's
It's already what you pay.
They're just eliminating the option to buy the cheap one.
Right.
They've done that before. They've they did
that with the Pro, with the 17 Pro 15 Pro Max. That jumped to $1199 when it got the new camera, and then last year they kept it there, but they didn't increase the lower Pro. They kept that at 128 gigs. So the Samsung Edge, just for reference, starts at. Hold on, it is so hard to find prices without going to a store. Hold on 1 second.
Like regular full prices.
Regular
this is America
prices.
where you finance things through your carrier to get a quote free phone that is not free. That's actually costs you more.
So the unlocked, it starts at 256 gigs of storage. And it's $1,199.
Okay.
For the S25 Edge.
That's their super thin one. So
that's their super thin phone where you're getting 2 cameras instead of 3, and there's the battery trade-offs. If that's any indication, it's a little bit more. Samsung charges a little bit more than you would think based on the specs because of the design. So we'll see. But I think if anything more than $999 for a phone that's, somewhat severely compromised. As far as specs go,
going down to one camera is not great. I don't like that. I agree.
The camera, the battery, you're not getting any of the pro features. It's still going to be a very good phone and a great phone, and you can argue that most people don't even care. I mean, look what they just did, the iOS 26 camera app. They took away all the settings except for photo video because, most people are just picking up their phone, snapping it, and putting it away.
Yeah.
They're not even really using the other cameras much.
Yeah, they just kind of hit them a little.
Right.
They're all there.
Right.
They're all there. They show you them real quick for a second.
Oh, yeah.
The little animation just grows the little phone video thing to show you that this is actually, they're all there in a row, but we're going to shrink and just show you photo and video. But yeah, the whole thing, they're simplifying the interface.
Right.
So yeah, maybe they're just whole ideas.
Yeah, that the one camera is really all you need to take great photos. But we'll see. I'm really, really interested to see how that model is marketed and how it sells in September.
Well, that does it for this episode of the Macworld Podcast, episode 939. Thanks to Jason Cross.
Thank you.
Thanks to Michael Simon.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks to you, the audience. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to the Macworld Podcast in the podcast app, on Spotify, on YouTube at the Macworld Podcast channel, or through any other podcast app. Do you have any comments or questions? Contact us through Blue Sky, Facebook, or Threads. Just search for Macworld and look for the Blue Mouse logo. Join us in the next episode of the Macworld Podcast as we talk about the latest in the world of Apple. See you next time.